Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace reporting live here at Birdland here in New York City. Vocalist Marilyn Scott is making a rare appearance tonight, and she's performing music from her current CD, Standard Blue, in which she takes standards and brings a very unique twist to it by way of the blues as well as jazz. As you might know, Miss Scott has been in the industry for well over 4 decades, and she's also a prolific writer as well. Tonight she's backed by the great Jimmy Haslip as well as James Farrar as well as Jimmy Brantley and Russell Ferrante of the great Yellow Jackets. Tonight we had a chance to sit down to break bread about the standards that she chose for this CD, her relationship musically with Russell Ferrante, as well as talk about some of her very important pivotal moments as a jazz as well as blues vocalist. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of the official New York record release performance of Miss Marilyn Scott performing music from her current CD, Standard Blue, live here on the Pace Report, reporting from Birdland here in New York City.
What would I be without you? There's no place for me without you. Never let me go. I'd be so lost if you went away. There'd be 1,000 hours in the day. Without you, I know. 'Cause someone confessed my world was overturned at the very start. All my bridges burned by my flaming heart. You never leave me, would you? No. You couldn't hurt me, could you? Never let me go. Never let me go.
Welcome back to New York City.
It's great to be here. Beautiful day, too, I think. You know, it's balmy-like. It's not humid. It's beautiful.
It's typical New York summer.
I'd like to stay. I would. I'd love to stay.
You know, I'm so honored to sit down and break bread with you. This new record, you doing a tour of the East Coast. What's the reception been like so far?
Well, you know, I've had the honor of playing some clubs I hadn't played before, like Blues Alley, and you know, going to D.C. We went to Baltimore, and we're here now, and it's just it's great. It feels great, and the reception, you know, I'm a bit blown away because, you know, people are mentioning tunes and stories about the music and what it meant to them and things like that. And, you know, when you get away from all that, when you're not around too much, you know, you don't know that how people really care about it, you know, because you just don't hear it. So it's been really, really gorgeous, you know, to hear all that, and humbling, and I just feel really blessed that I'm able to do this these few days and have these guys with me. I've got Russell Ferranti on keyboards. I've got Jimmy Haslip on bass, James Hara on guitar, and Jimmy Branley on drums. So I've really got a terrific band, and we're having a good time.
Standard Blue is the name of the record, and this is kind of a really different, unique record as far as your interpretation of standards. I want to know where you went as far as trying to find these songs, and why did you decide to go with these songs?
Well, everybody's always asking me, do you do more standards and things like that, and so I try to do some I always try to add a standard to usually 9 tunes that I write or something, but in this case I wrote 1 tune and did 9, and the 9 being things that hadn't been too hashed over in the sense of being so familiar, and then I wanted to really find more of the side where the blues was and where it lived more than where maybe Speak Low would be like more of a Latin vibe that's traditionally, it kind of goes that way. But, that was my idea, is to find some sadness in some of this stuff that we all have. And the lyric really kind of, tells a story about what we're feeling, that blues side of what we're feeling, It's not, and we did the Joint It's Jumpin', and the point is for that is that even when you've got the blues, you've got to go out and get out and dance it out and be with friends and share that life so that we get rid of it.
Marilyn, I grew up, my grandfather, God rest his soul, there were 3 guys that I had to get in my DNA if I was ever going to accomplish and interpret jazz. It was Duke Ellington, Nat King Cole, and Count Basie. And on this album, this recording, you dive into some Duke Ellington on here.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, and Strayhorn, Flowers, a Lovesome Thing. Yeah, I think I've only heard Ella do it. It's not very typical when you hear it as a vocal. You hear it as an instrumental a lot, but not with it. And how can you not? He understands that how you get there with the blues.
Speak low when you speak loud. Summer day withers away too soon, much too soon. I feel, wherever I go, that tomorrow is here. Tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Speak low. Speak low. Now there's a spark lost in the dark. Too soon, much too soon. I feel, wherever I go, that tomorrow is near. Tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old, and love so brief. Love is pure gold. Time a thief. Oh, we're late. Yes, we're late.
this is your first album that you've recorded in quite a while. It's been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
This is your first album since 2009, 2008.
Yeah, 10 maybe.
What took so long?
Well, I'm not alone in that. We all suffer. The business has shrunk so hard, and there's not a lot of opportunities, and a lot of labels, frankly, have gone away. So the labels that can support, artists are very few. They're just, the rosters are small, and that goes for all the people who book, agents and stuff like that. They just can't handle a lot of artists, and it's been tough for a lot of people, and and I think that's the life of a musician anyway. Is that you got to have a second and a third job.
Because Marilyn, like you said, a lot of musicians now, the whole digital, and it's really weird because I've noticed that now everything was MP3, but now record stores, people are buying vinyl and CDs again.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. And if you're lucky enough to be able to have a little pocket change to put some out that way, I think that's very cool. I would if I could get back to it a little bit. Yeah.
As a vocalist, when you're singing, what are some of the things that you look for as a palette for when you're singing? The lyrics and the tone of the lyrics, and how do you convey it to the listener and the audience?
Mm-hmm. That's a hard thing. You do it the best you can. And it comes with just being able to have, the opportunity to be in front of people. I always look for tunes that have a kind of a message. I'm one of those. I write about, what's going on around us a lot, and I write about love too. But I try to put love in a different place sometimes. And but I like issues. And I guess that's a responsibility of an artist, is to, as much as you can, not that you want to preach to people, I don't mean that, but that you want to be able to talk about, things other than just love all the time. You should talk about what's really happening.
And I guess writers of your generation, Stevie Wonder, Joni Mitchell, Paul Simon, Leonard Cohen, they did some things musically that their music's gonna go and live on forever.
Oh yeah, and then we get to do those tunes too. Stevie is an incredible writer, and his stuff is it's available for anybody to interpret it. It doesn't just stand alone for him. Like some music is like that, but his is available for everybody to interpret and make it their own.
When you were coming up, listening to those artists, those writers, do you think that their music has aged better now than when they released it 30, 40, 50 years ago?
I guess it depends on the listener. For me, it does, but I don't know that it does for everybody. I was lucky enough to listen. You mentioned the Bay Area earlier. The radio stations in the Bay Area were they played all kinds of music together. So you got the Spinners, and then you got Coltrane, and you got the Tower Power. So it was a great way to learn music, and it's hard to get that anymore. Unless you're in your living room and making it happen, and you already have the records or the CDs or.
Because of one caress, my world was open. The very start, all my bridges burned by my flaming heart. You'd never leave me, would you? No. You couldn't have
musicians on this record are incredible. I've interviewed Russell here on the Pace Report with the Yellow Jackets, and I understand that you guys have a very unique relationship as coming together for this record also. And what's it like working with Russell?
With Russ, well, I've known Russ since about maybe 74. I met him in San Jose, where he was from, because we were all playing. When I graduated, I moved up north, up in the Bay Area, started playing in bands up there, and I met him in like a pizza parlor. And I met Robin Ford that way too.
Wow.
And then by the end of the 70s, I moved back home. I started singing a lot of background on people's albums and stuff. And then when I got my first opportunity was about 1979 to make a record, and we wrote some tunes. And that was the first time I was really started to write. And it was with Russ. So he's been part of my family for as long as I can think of, And then I met Jimmy about 81 or 83. We were talking about that today. And so it's been a long time, and they're always so kind to me and always willing to help me in anything I want to dive into. They're going, yeah, let's do it.
Writing has got to be very therapeutic, but it's also got to be hard too, because I feel that when a writer writes, they're really shedding from the soul. And how hard and how easy is it for you to communicate and convey your ideas to song?
Sometimes it's very fluid and easy. Other times it's really frustrating, and it could take years, one idea. But overall, I think when you get a good idea and you have a good melody and changes, it shouldn't take too long at all. And it always evolves when you go to record it. You go, oh no, but we could do this, and so it doesn't take too long. And sometimes, though, I go through all the lyric ideas and melody ideas and stuff all the time and rediscover stuff.
And doing this standards record, and now at this particular part of your career, is it easier to perform blues, or is it harder to perform blues or jazz?
Well, I don't know. It's not. It's neither. It's neither. You just don't think about it. You just do it. And it's part of your story. So you're willing to tell it.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at Birdland, here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank the incomparable Miss Marilyn Scott for her time. Make sure you go out and support her current CD, Standard Blue, which is now available on her website, as well as Amazon.com and iTunes. Also, I'd like to personally thank Gabrielle and the staff at DL Media for arranging my time with Miss Scott. Also, the staff and management here at Birdland for their warm hospitality. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column, as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.
What would I be